And are they equal to each other?
Yes.
And if TS is parallel to QR, what's angle 1 and angle 2 called? Alternate interior angles. So are those two triangles congruent to each other?
Yes.
Through what postulate?
Angle, angle, side.
Angle, angle, side. So if they are congruent to each other, let's label them, okay? If I call it triangle QMR congruent to the top triangle, well, obviously, which angle must be congruent to angle Q in the top one?
Angle S.
Angle S. And M is equal to M, and T is congruent to R. So, QM is congruent to SM. Well, if SQ has been separated into two equal segments, what do we know about point M?
It's the midpoint.
It's the midpoint, because the definition of midpoint. Okay? MR is congruent to MT. Yeah. Sorry. Because they were corresponding parts. Well, if TR is cut into two equal segments at point M, then point M is also the what? Midpoint of that line segment. So we have just proven that these two diagonals cut each other through their midpoints, which mean they bisect each other. Okay? So now we have that theorem. We've proven it. So we don't have to go through all this hubbub in order to get there. So what we know when we see a parallelogram is very nifty.
Is that CPCT?
No, definition of bisectors. Okay? If I give you a picture and I tell you this is a parallelogram, and I say that this angle is 70 degrees, okay?
You can figure out the rest of it.
I can figure out the rest of the angles. Now let's talk about how. We know opposite angles are equal, right?
Yeah, 70 degrees.
Okay. So Josh, can you tell me how I would figure out these two angles?
Okay, 70 plus 70 is 140. 360 divided by 140 equals 220.
That's
Taking
stupid.
that divided by
Hey,
2
stop.
is
That's
That's not stupid. It's very well thought out, but there's a shortcut.
well, something
Okay.
to
But you are correct. It is a
Yeah,
110
180
each, but let's go by the
minus
shortcut.
70.
Jacob?
Since the
No,
lines,
since you said he was stupid,
Wait, no,
you
no,
can't
no.
answer.
Marion. No, 180 minus the number of that angle will equal that angle because that's the equal.
same side interior angles are
Yes,
supplementary.
yes.
Because these are same side interior angles formed by parallel lines, so they are supplements. Okay? All right. Shh. So we just figured something else out. Write this down. Consecutive angles of a parallelogram are blank, while opposite angles are blank. You fill in the blanks. What are the words that go there? Don't shout them out. Consecutive angles in a parallelogram are what? Raise your hand.
supplementary.
Supplementary. Consecutive means one right after the other. While opposite angles in a parallelogram are what? Jacob. Congruent. So we have all kinds of nifty information right now about parallelograms. Okay? Now we're going to turn to the classroom exercises and we're going to apply. classroom exercises. Number 1 says you have a parallelogram, GRAM. We are on page 168. Please turn to page 168. Crystal Ward, you're not on the right page. 168. Now, gram looks like a what? Not a square.
Rectangle.
A rectangle. But unless we are told that there are lines perpendicular to each other or that 90-degree angles exist, we cannot assume that it's a rectangle. Okay? So none of that is given to us. So even though it looks like it, it could be an 89 and a 91-degree angle. All right, but the question is, why is G supplementary to angle M? Scott?
There are same side interior angles and they're
Because they are formed by
supplementary.
parallel lines. By parallel lines. Very good. For the same reason, angle M is a supplement to angle A, and we just wrote that sentence on the board. Consecutive angles are supplementary, while opposite angles are congruent. Suppose that angle M is a right angle. What can you deduce about the rest of the angles? They're all right angles. Very good. Okay, yes.
So a rectangle is a parallelogram that looks funny.
A rectangle is a parallelogram with 90-degree angles. Or you could say with equal angles, where all 4 angles are equal. Okay? Number 3, we have parallelogram ABCD. We are told it's a parallelogram, so we know all kinds of stuff about it. We know that the opposite sides are equal to each other. We know that the opposite angles are equal to each other. We know that consecutive angles are supplementary, and if we had diagonals, they would do what? Bisect each other. But this is what we're given. This is a 65-degree angle. We are asked to find Z, X, and Y. Let's start with X. X is 65. Why, Sam?
Because those are same side interior.
The exterior angle
Those are corresponding angles. The 65-degree angle A and this exterior angle B are corresponding angles formed by parallel lines cut by a transversal. So X is also 65 degrees and Y is also 65 degrees for 2 reasons.
They're
Alternate interior angles
and they're opposite.
and opposite sides of a parallelogram. So how do we find Z?
180 minus 65.
180 minus 65, which is 115 degrees. Very good. All right, number 4, we have parallelogram ABCD. And we have a diagonal drawn across. And it may be going the opposite direction, but anyway, here we go. It is. Let me get my angles right. That's all right. I'll just do this. Okay. If this is 56 degrees, let's see, this is Y, this would be Z, this is 85, this is X. Okay. Josh,
go in order like X.
whatever you want to do first.
Okay, X is 56. Well, it's easier starting from Z because it's a logical order.
Actually, it's easier starting from X, I think, because Z is not.
Well, because Z is an alternate interior angle of 85. So Z is 85. 85 plus 56.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is.
And then 85 and 56 is 141. And so Y is 31. And then
39.
39. Yeah. And then X is 56 because 85, 39, and 56.
How'd you get to 30? How'd you get
Okay, right here he said these 2 angles are alternate interior angles, so they're equal to each other. Then